everybody. I hope everyone's well. This is the 5-Yard Pass with Suddy and Shyam here. We are doing our series of EPL season previews, and we are moving on to both of our teams. Manchester United finished second in the league last year. Have been improving slowly, steadily, a bit like the tortoise and the hare in the tortoise race with Ole Gunnar at the helm. Suddy, what were your thoughts about United last season?
Well, I guess United came to a point. I said this a few videos ago where every loss didn't mean anything anymore. 2 years ago, a loss meant Ole out, or the loss meant Pogba's. Everyone got on the Graham Souness train. Pogba did this. A loss this time. There was much more constructive chat in the forums and the videos. If you watch Stratford Paddock or something, so it's great to see, man. Like I'm pumped. But as far as last season goes, they scored 73 goals, second best in the league, 44 against. And if you take out the Spurs, they go up to like the third best defense in the league. And you can say that about Liverpool as well. So it was a kind of an anomaly. They go into the kind of high 30s instead of conceded. And I guess the poor points last season was 11 draws altogether. I mean, that's just shouldn't be happening. 11 draws, nearly a third of your season. And their home form, I don't know what's happened. Home form has been shocking. Big highlight last season was including the Cups and in Europe, that away stretch, 12 wins, 7 draws in the league. And I guess as well with the season, something that was a bit concerning was that kind of January dip and then the end of the season dip where they got 2 wins in the last 6 games. It's a bit concerning, but I think I put it down to they were kind of trying to get the Europa League squad right for the end. So all in all, I think
that injury to Maguire as well, wasn't it? That seemed to
it obviously destabilized everything and look at his importance for the United. Look at his importance now for England. I've been a big fan of him. I've called that as mistakes, but I've been a huge fan of him because he's someone who plays every single game given the chance, and that's so important for any player who can play every. That's why Bruno's so important because he can play every game. United's injuries with the type of pitch they were using at Carrington was a huge deal with the type of medical advice they were getting, which started around the Owen Hargreaves time, which is kind of in fact, it kind of started around Ollie's time with his knee injuries. The United have a problem with knee injuries and ankle injuries, which has kind of permeated through the squad. So it's good to see that players like Maguire can play full seasons, and then goes to show his importance when he's not playing. But look, overall, sorry, Shyam, overall, I think it was just an above of expectations. I think United didn't do themselves a service. They could have won the league. Take away a few of those draws. I know it's woulda, coulda, shoulda, but they were a very good team last year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with pretty much everything you've said. I do think they're a bit confidence driven. So when they lose, drop points here, they go on a run of dropping points, and when they do well, they go on a run of winning.
Absolutely.
There is a need for that stability that Maguire seems to bring, but they will need it from more than just Maguire as well. But I think overall, I think that, like you're right, they exceeded expectations. Probably the one stat I wanted to mention was they conceded 14 goals from set pieces, which is second most in the league. So they can get that right, and they've got a set piece coach. Even if they halved that to 7, I think that would make a big difference as well. Yeah. But one thing I wanted to move on to was transfers. There's been some big ins for Man United. Could you chat to us about Tom Heathen?
Well, I will talk about Tom Heathen first. Tom Heathen, for those who don't know, was a United Academy graduate. Kind of did the old the journeyman trail, and he's ended off at Burnley, and he's come back, and he's a good guy to have. He may not be the keeper everyone wants to have, but we do have the 2 best keepers in the league, 2 of the best keepers in the league. De Gea on his day is the best shot stopper in the world. Dean Henderson has a great command around the box, but Heaton brings, some keepers are brought in as a trainer. That's what Lee Grant was brought in for. And worst comes to worst, he plays, and it's not a bad option. 2 big transfers, obviously, Varane and Sancho. I mean, Varane came so quick, and the decision was made so quick. We can talk about Real. I don't want to talk about Real's transfer financial problems because it kind of dampens the feeling that United fans have now. But that transfer was done so quick. I got to say, the removal of Ed Woodward and the installation of James Murtaugh, I think his name is. This is the result. Sancho deal was done. It was done quite quickly. I think it was quicker than people thought it was. And Varane deal was done in a week, maybe 2 weeks. That's a big fucking. And it wasn't 35 million. I can go into it, but the Varane Maguire, the hype is real. I'm telling you, man, the hype is real. In terms of players out,
two genuine A-grade stars that United have got.
Man.
I think they need more, but that's an incredible start. That's an 8 out of 10 transfer window already.
And if you say United go on confidence, a player who drives on confidence is someone like Scott McTominay playing in an important DM position. You're talking about those kind of players who, if the confidence is there, you can change some of those draws into wins, some of those losses. Sorry, those draws and losses into wins. Who knows where you end up? I don't think United win the league, but I think we're going to get closer than ever. In terms of players out, just as a note, Chong went to Birmingham. He's a very good player who I think is a future at United. He's gone to Birmingham. He was at a Dutch club. He was at Werder Bremen last year, so he got a lot of playing time. I think he's come to Birmingham to get a bit more of English playing time. Joel Pereira's left the club, and Romero, obviously, it's a real shame, but he's left the club as well under these circumstances.
You could argue there's about 4 goalkeepers ahead of Romero, which is interesting because he's played 55 times for Argentina.
But, he has the best goalkeeping record in United's history. Just to let you know, a ratio of
there's a stat I wasn't expecting to hear. Yeah. One thing I will say about United's squad is that it's great to get these names in. United have 37 players in their first team, so there is a need to move some of the deadwood out. There is a lot of talk about it. There's apparently about 9 players who, if the right offer comes in, will go. I do think the squad needs a bit of an overhaul. I think there is a need for some freshness, and guys that have lingered around long enough do need to move on. And I would like to see United get another midfielder as well. So 1 forward, 1 midfielder, 1 defender. But I think that they've made the right moves so far. So things will get very busy in the last month of this window.
Can I ask you something though? Do you subscribe to the idea that United could win the league this year? We'll get to detailed expectations in a second, but do you subscribe to that? Do you think United could realistically win the league this year?
With the players that they've got right now, no. I expect them to challenge. They need to be. What happened to United last year was in January, we were top of the league. Yay, 21's coming, and then like that. So we were out of it by the end of January. United need to be there in March and April. That to me is a success. If they're there come Easter time, challenging for the title, don't quite get there. I think that's where they need to be. I think there's some improvement in the team. They started really badly last year, so I think the team's probably about 5 points better, and I think you could probably add about 6 to 10 points from the 2 signings that they've got. So they probably need to be somewhere in the high 80s to 90. I think that is about where you would expect them to be. That means Man City with 95 points probably win the league. But I would like to see United go from 66 points to 74 points to somewhere in that sort of high 80s type mark.
I mean, I want to talk about expectations in a second, but I'd hate United to become second place specialists the way Arsenal were against Fergie's United in the late 90s.
It's about progression. It's about progression, and that Arsenal team actually beat United quite a bit. There was I think a series of 10 games between those teams where United only won 2, and one of them was the FA Cup semi in '99, like around that sort of time when they won the treble. So it's that ability to back up, and that confidence and that ability to just churn out the results. That's where United need to get to.
We'll get to expectations, man. Like I think. Well, as I said before, like very simply put, if United had turned a few of those draws, turned a few of those losses, they played against, like the way they played against Southampton, winning very late. A few of those, we'd be maybe having a very different conversation, maybe a bit more positive one with perhaps we would have got new signing, leverage that. But what I'd like to see them do this season, firstly, as a season as a whole, go win a trophy. We have to. It's too long. Coming back to Mourinho's days, League Cup, FA Cup. Fucking man, like
it'll be 5 years, right? If they win one this year, it'll be 5 years.
It's a long time. Right? It's a long time. But in terms of kind of that's the more macro thing. But I think the culture of the club has improved massively. I really do. I think there's not much to be changed there. I think at a micro level, on the pitch, the confidence is going to be back in the defense. I think Luke Shaw is man reborn. Varane next to Maguire. Maguire can do things that he perhaps hasn't done before. Maguire likes to charge up the pitch with the ball. I remember in his Leicester days, and he did that with England because he had John Stones. But I'd like to see United have a bit more variation going forward. There's a lot of emphasis on the left. Cavani likes to drop into the left as well. With Sancho, it's a whole new dimension. And what people think, it's not a kind of zero-sum game where like, oh, now 50% of the pitch now will move to the right. It's a compounding effect where if you're pushing down the left and the right at all times, it's a compounding effect where more mistakes, it's not like the same amount of mistakes will happen divided by 2. Teams are going to make more mistakes more of the time. With these two, like Rashford and Sancho coming down those 2 wings. So I'd like to see
you don't defend so tight. You don't defend so compact. Wan-Bissaka goes from being the first option to the second option. Does that free him up a bit more? He's actually got a decent cross on him on Bissaka, but
towards the end of the season he did,
decent, but it's not great. Maybe that gets elevated by the fact that he's playing off the second best defender, and the best defenders, or even the best 2 defenders, have gone to Jadon Sancho.
And can you imagine? I assume Varane's got a bit of basic English, but can you imagine Varane telling Wan-Bissaka what to do? I've only won the Champions League 4 times.
Yeah. I
Let
won
me
the
tell you
Champions
what to
League
do.
4 times. Stand there.
And you know Wan-Bissaka, he's a humble, he's a good guy. He listens, he's ready to learn. And the last thing I expect to see specifically, I'd like to see Donny van de Beek, man. People, all this chat about Van de Beek wanting to leave, I don't believe it. I watched a video the other day and I kind of agree with it. There's this talk of him being redeployed into a 4-3-3 as a more kind of a Frank Lampardish kind of guy, advancing into the box, late runs with Bruno and Pogba, maybe Bruno and Scott McTominay sitting a bit more, letting Bruno a bit more license, which is doable because we have Sancho now, because we have Varane sitting at the back. There's a bit more license for one more midfielder to be, a bit more expressive, I guess.
Yeah, I think that I don't want to go down the Pogba rabbit hole, but if he goes, Donny was bought to replace him. I don't think they need to replace Donny van der Beek, Paul Pogba, sorry. I do think they need another midfielder, like I said, but the idea, he likes to pass and move. He can't, but he needs the ball back to be effective at that. Jadon Sancho will do that. Once Jadon does it, Bissaka will do it, Fernandes will do it, all the other players will do it. I think that there are times that he's come on and United suddenly look a lot better in terms of moving the ball.
A great example
often enough, but a
great example of that is Bruno's goal against Newcastle. That's a great example of what Donny can do.
That was what I was thinking. Yeah,
he broke that, switched it, and then the attack went forward. So that's a great example. But look, overall, in my heart, I always think United are going to do the league. I got to put that away, and I think second in the points in the 80s. I think if they go challenge in the semifinals of both cups, I think if they get into the quarters of the Champions League, it is a very good season. But they need to go and win those two small trophies. One of those two small trophies.
I spoke a bit about United relative to City. I'm going to ask you what you think about United relative to Chelsea and Liverpool.
Oh, I think they're more settled side than Chelsea. I think Liverpool and United are on par. So if you were to go and get third off 1 or 2 points on Liverpool, I don't think that's a failure of the season. I think it's a very unlucky, and same with Liverpool, vice versa. I think, it's always nice to battle to the end. You can't fault your teams for battling to the end because the other team's as good. That's what you want to see. I think Liverpool's on par with United. I think Chelsea's just a bit off the pace because I think winning a big trophy like the Champions League almost half resets you, puts you a step back because there's the motivation it's hard to motivate your players to go again. You saw that with the French players who came back from France.
got sacked after winning the Champions League, right? The players just didn't get that spring.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And who's to say, you're still hoping that Ziyech, Havertz, blah, 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 are going to have great full seasons. But most of the players at United, Liverpool, City can have great full seasons. And I include Varane in that, and I include Sancho in that as well.
Even if United got fourth, I wouldn't mind so much depending on how they went compared to this season. They need to show growth from last season, 74 points in second, to getting close to City, chasing that target that's going to be further forward than it is. So if United got 85 points and finish fourth, I wouldn't mind. It's more the 85 points I'm paying attention to as opposed to four. But obviously, they need to get in the Champions League. And like you said, I think it's a battle between those four. I don't really see anybody challenging those four getting the season was so weird because he had a 10th place team with 59 points and he had a 4th place team with 66 points. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think that more of those points will go and push some teams up, but at the same time, some of those teams will get less points and fall down a bit. I think the league's going to be more strung out this year as opposed to having that big logjam between, I think Liverpool were 3rd with 69 and Everton were 10th with 59. Yeah. That's not going to happen again.
Yeah. So 1 second. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting for many reasons, like exactly what you're saying. So, I think it's going to be a special season.
I think.
But Shyam, any more thoughts in United?
I've said it twice now. I'll say it again. I think they need a midfielder, preferably a 6. But apart from that, I think that they've taken some big steps forward, and it's onwards and upwards for United. It's just a matter of can they go higher than anyone else. But I think they will be moving upwards this year.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This was the full series of the Premier League team previews. We've done the Big Six and we've done Spurs. So it's going to be an exciting league this year, I think, Shyam. I think it's going to be fantastic, but I think we both kind of settled on I think City are going to win it. We are going to bring you a special episode talking about Brentford in a few days' time. I think that's worth talking about, the story of the ascent of Brentford and one of the best run clubs in England. But as for now, you have the best 10 clubs in England and how we think they're going to do this year. So thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like what we do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Tell us what you think United are going to finish this season. We are the 5-year pass. My name is Suddy. This is Shyam. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys. Cheers.